My boyfriend wants to lie on his law school applications about how he's gay. Posted by a throwaway account. My boyfriend of 2 years is Asian American and had a very high pressure, and I'm almost completely sure physically abusive, but he'll never admit to it or anything of that nature, childhood, to get into an Ivy League university for undergrad. He believes he was a more qualified applicant than everyone else in his class, but didn't get into any Ivy Leagues, including a case where he and his best friend, at the time, a girl, were waitlisted together on one of them. She was called from the waitlist and told that it was definitely because of her race, white, gender, and because her family was able to pay full tuition, whereas his wasn't able to pay really anything. She offered to decline it for him so that he could go instead, but he refused. Edit, I didn't write that last part clearly enough. It wasn't a literal trade-in opportunity offered by the university, but they were the only 2 students from that school, as far as they knew, to be waitlisted. The school was the largest in its geographic area, so they thought that he was the next in line due to being a more qualified applicant on the objective stats, but less favorable in other areas. Obviously, we'll never know since he told her not to turn down the offer. But the whole experience left him extremely bitter about his chances in applying to anything, and he fully believes that lying on his application is acceptable insofar as he's not caught, because the primary thing he's judged on is his race anyway. Anyway, he's done extremely well for himself in college, unless he really F's up the interview, and he has gone to several mock interviews on the off chance that that was why he didn't get into the Ivy Leagues and passed with flying colors. He's practically guaranteed a spot at the top 40 law school at our university, in-state privilege, and our pre-law advisors told him that he's got a great chance at top 10, but he doesn't believe that they're being completely honest. However, he's not interested in top 10, he's interested in top 5. I think it's because of his mum primarily, who I know calls him every 3 days and seems to barely ask about his life, and instead asks about the status of his application, where he's thinking of applying, etc. He actually really loves his mum and says that she was nice to him, but from what he's told me, she was just not as bad as his dad. It makes me sick to my stomach to realize that after everything he's done and went through, he still wants the approval of his parents. After a particularly long call yesterday, he seemed thoughtful and distracted for most of the night, and then he came back to me today to ask if I'd be okay with him taking pictures of me off of his social media, and I edit captions and delete certain pictures to make it seem like we're just friends, not dating. I asked why, and he said he thinks that the best move for him is to say that he's gay on his application. He showed me some drafts to the personal essay questions that he wrote up about being gay. They're all really insightful and everything, but it's not completely true and authentic to his life. The crazy thing is that he's bisexual. He doesn't tell almost anyone because he's afraid his parents will disown him if they find out. But he reluctantly showed me some pictures of his ex-boyfriend from our freshman year of college when we were talking about our exes. I asked him why he doesn't just say that, because that's actually true. And he laughed and said that nobody will care about that, and then went into an explanation about the epistemic contract of bisexual erasure, which actually kinda made sense. I actually don't care about taking down social media posts or whatever. It's only temporary, and even if it's not for whatever reason, we'll still have those pictures. But the reasoning is what I don't like. So I told him point blank that I wanted to support him as much as I could, but I wouldn't do it for his outdated need to please his parents. We argued for a bit, until I just said that I'd be happy to pretend that he's gay by breaking up with him, but nothing in between. He looked hurt by that and said that we should go back home. We don't live together, and think about it. I told my parents, who love him, and they actually surprisingly seemed torn about whether lying about being gay was really that bad, but they did agree that threatening to break up with him was too far. I was completely floored by this. So now I'm turning to the internet. I know playing up things you did is a standard part of applications, but this just seems too far. If it's not too far though, then yeah, I crossed a line by threatening to break up. What do you think? In the comments, by the way, says, he is really confused and/or not thinking rationally about this. 1. When his friend got the Ivy League acceptance, there was never any real opportunity to trade in her admission for him to be admitted. Why would either of them think that? 2. Law school admission is a process that is fuzzy, Maybe he has a 25% chance of getting into each of the top 10 law schools. If he writes a gay essay, maybe that's a 26% chance. Or maybe his gay essay doesn't seem authentic, so he has a 21% chance per school. Someone else with an equal GPA and ISAT could have the same 25% chance per school, but get into different schools. It's like rolling the dice. If you want a higher chance of acceptance, apply to more schools. If he doesn't get in this time, he can go take a 1-year volunteer position that is law-related, like working with DV victims or refugees or climate change, and then reapply. The easiest fix for him, though, would be to go low contact or no contact with his parents for a while, and figure out what matters to him and what he wants for his future. A therapist can help. As a lawyer said, I think he's kind of overestimating the value an admissions officer would place on a gay man. I don't think it's the golden ticket that he perceives it to be. In fact, I honestly think he is misconstrued a lot. Is it possible that he's simply not as special of a candidate as he believes himself to be? I'm sincerely not even saying that to be rude, but I went to a top law school, and the people in my class had effing wild backgrounds. On a note of curiosity, and as a fellow bisexual person, why does he have to be specific about his sexual identity at all? If he's part of the LGBTQ community, can't he just say that that's how he identifies? Then he wouldn't be lying. I don't know why he thinks being gay would earn him more points than being bi. Finally, he honestly doesn't sound very ethical. In my experience, people who are comfortable bending the rules usually end up breaking them. Maybe you should consider if this is a person that you want as your partner. I haven't seen anyone else really mention, when it comes to getting accepted by the bar and getting hired as a lawyer at a top firm, it will absolutely matter that he lied on his law school app. They are very serious about ethics, and he could be risking his whole career by lying about this. This is going to continually haunt him, especially once he learns anything about the bar and how ethics work. This is truly a very bad idea. Also, he could write about the erasure of bisexuality and probably stand out even more than gay candidates. Update. Thanks everyone for the advice. Both of us were busy with finals, so we agreed to not talk about it until we were finished, and most of our time together was just studying anyway. After our last finals yesterday, we sat down and talked. He said that he wasn't going to put that on his application, and that I didn't need to do anything like take any pictures down. He apologized and said that he was in the wrong to prioritize our relationship below something that would only give him a marginal advantage, if there is any advantage at all. We've been dating for 2 years, and he thinks that there is real potential for us to be the rest of our lives type thing. That should have taken priority. So that was good. Then I started asking him some questions along the lines of what I saw commenters say, and he was confused, then got angry. He correctly guessed that I'd posted on Reddit about it. He was really unhappy about that, but he said he'd pretend like that didn't happen as long as I don't do it again. So I guess this is my last time posting here. He said no to pretty much everything commenters suggested. Therapy, cutting contact with parents, but he did say that if there was a situation where he needed to choose between having a relationship with his parents and having a relationship with me, he would choose me. It wasn't everything that I was hoping for, but it's a good start. I'm hoping that I don't have to go through this again in the future. In the comments, Wani says, Asian parents calling and never asking about your well-being, but only about your academic status? Been there. My son's bestie is Korean, and he used to lose it over the harsh Asian dad meme. You drink Sunny D? Why not Sunny A? Yeah, this isn't resolved. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and OP is the Titanic. Not a great update. I mean, epistemological erasure of bisexual identity would make a great application essay. Hell, he could write about this exact incident, considering lying about his sexual identity because he wasn't gay enough, and that would probably be a great essay. Ultimately, it seems like he lacks some amount of introspection. He probably needs that to write a really stellar essay. Instead, he'll just put some cookie-cutter bullshit that doesn't stand him out from the crowd at all. Unfortunate. Honestly, as an Asian American, I get where he's coming from, but But at that point, just put "prefer not to say" on the race section of your application, or just write that standard milquetoast, "look how diverse I am, look how much I struggle to embrace my culture" essay that everyone hates writing, but admissions people love reading. Or hell, make up some shit about how you came to America not knowing a word of English and you learned off the back of a cereal box or something. Don't be dumb enough to lie about something that can be easily disproven. People can sometimes tell you're Asian by your name, though. Then make it your strength. Write that super annoying essay about how you felt torn between two different worlds as a third culture kid that white people eat up for some reason. Unexposed post is by user Glitterbunny, titled, "He Still Has His Ex's Nudes." Am I in the wrong for feeling upset? This is my first relationship. It's one of them where you're basically together, but no labels. We go to different unis, so distance makes it hard, and other things too, like him lying about being on dating apps when we said that we were exclusive. Admittedly, I am an insecure person. I don't let it bother me on the daily, but when I see pictures of his ex, I hate myself. This started when he kinda would bring her up a lot. I thought that it was kinda weird, but they were together for 3 years. I found out her name through him talking about her, found her Instagram. She could be a Victoria's Secret model, and I'm not exaggerating. She is very beautiful. I'm not saying I'm ugly, but I'm definitely nowhere near her. She's an easy 10 out of 10. He said his friends would refer to him as the one with the fit bird. Not a fan of that language, but they're right. I'm a 6 out of 10, 7 on a good day. I'm not ugly, but I'm not beautiful. It upsets me a lot. It makes me feel very bad about myself. I've tried my hardest to get over it. He says he's done with her, but he still has all her pictures. They broke up well over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. He still has all the pictures, including her explicit pictures. I've now seen this woman's pictures, and yeah, I definitely hate myself now. Why does he still have her pictures? Am I crazy for being upset over this? Am I letting my insecurities get to me? Is this normal? I get having a few pictures for memory's sake, but to keep lewd pictures of the woman you claim that you feel nothing for? I don't know. All I do now is feel bad. Things are great with us. He is so funny and caring, and I feel comfortable with him. I don't feel comfortable with many people. For example, instead of going home, he stayed with me, went to the shops, and we cooked his home foods together to make sure I'd eat. And I know he really does care for me. He comforts me while I cry about my past father. He listens to me when I need to rant. He always seems excited to see me. So I think that it's just in my head. But if he really did love or like me, surely he would do all of those things, and he wouldn't want to wait till December, this has been going on since February, to put labels on it. But it's so hard to try and ignore his lying over the dating apps, how quickly he got with someone else when we split. He wasted no time. Not even a week later, he was just with someone else. But fair enough, because we weren't together, but it still hurts. It stings because he expressed how he loved me, and he wouldn't. It made me doubt the genuineness of words going forth. It wouldn't have been that big of a deal if he didn't say such things. Like, yeah, it would sting, but I would get on with it. Because I do have feelings for him, and I'm a bit naive when it comes to relationships. And this thing with his gorgeous ex, I don't fear them getting back together. I think he is so beautiful, but she is way out of his league. I'll be so real, can't even call her a 10 out of 10, she's scale-breaking. She had always been pretty, but then she had the breakup glow. Think of Eastern European models. She could easily be one if she isn't already on her way. They're never getting back together, plus he tells me that it was a toxic relationship, and neither of them would ever want to get back together, and I stalked, she has a boyfriend. But I feel as though I'm not enough. If I was enough, then he wouldn't keep those types of pictures of her, or make a big deal about deleting them, like saying he can't be bothered. Here are some other red flags in retrospect. He tried to give me his ex's shirt to wear. He told me he loved me before we met in person, when we first met, and at random points throughout our time together. I feel as though he told me that specifically when things were ending between us, and I would stay because the idea of someone loving me is foreign, and I didn't think that it would happen to me. I met him on Hinge, lol. I caught him twice on dating apps. He said he wouldn't do it again the first time, and he was only doing it for a confidence boost. but he promised he would delete them, and then a week or so later, I found him still active on the apps. He would consistently mention other girls to make me jealous. He would waste my time, telling me to stay up so we could call, and then never calling me or making me stay up really late when I told him that I'd be very busy the next day. I asked him if he could at least text me if he isn't able to call so I can do other things or go to bed instead of staying up like an excited kid on Christmas Eve. Low-key fetishized my race and sexuality. I thought it was a joke, but he referenced both things a lot, to the point that it made me uncomfortable. I mentioned this to him, that I thought that it was weird, and I'm more than just bisexual and mixed black and white. Update. He claims he just hasn't gotten around to deleting them, but told me he deleted all the pics on her Snapchat, and he has loads of photos in his camera roll, so he doesn't see them. But in my opinion, he should have deleted them, not even for my sake, but hers, especially if he's already taken the time to delete them on Snap. I think it's weird to keep those kind of pictures of someone that you're no longer with and haven't spoken to in nearly 2 years. I don't think her or her boyfriend would appreciate him having them pictures. I know I certainly don't. I'm kicking him out and ending it this morning. He made me feel bad by saying I'm all he has, but I'm trying to respect myself and stick with it. I have a bad habit of taking him back when he upsets me because I tell myself that I'm being dramatic. But I don't feel respected, and with everyone reinforcing what I've been thinking, I do think it's time to get rid of him. I think it's just hard because he is a lot of my firsts. Lastly, I do agree that I need to work on my self-esteem, and I have. I've made tremendous growth compared to where I was. I can leave the house, I can entertain the idea of dating, I don't fixate on stupid, superficial things. I am a POC that grew up in very white areas in the 2000s to 2010s. Unfortunately, a lot of what I don't like about myself was instilled because I was different. I never saw representation of people who looked like me, like having very coily hair. I had this disgusting notion built into my head that because I'm mixed, I should at least have loose, soft curls and a lighter complexion and green-blue eyes. I hate that I ever thought that. It's so stupid. But now I wear my natural coily hair out. I don't have to try and cover up my face to try and hide it, and the fact that I can say I know I'm not ugly is substantial growth from my childhood to teen years. I'm actually extremely proud and thankful for my mixed heritage. Thank you all for your words. Update. I wanted him back. I have issues, I know, but he doesn't want me. That's it. In the comments, Pudding Idjit says, if he's on dating apps while in a committed relationship, then he's not committed. Many cheaters make their significant other feel special when they're around them. It's kind of manipulation. They also make their side pieces feel that way. As for the nudes, I think it's inappropriate for him to still have them after breaking up with her, much less while dating someone else. I know I would be creeped out to know that any of my exes were oogling at my nude pictures. Also, I don't really think he's over her as he wants you to believe. If he was, he wouldn't have those pictures. Speaking of, have you ever asked him to get rid of them? If he refused, big red flag. My advice to you would be to end the relationship. He does not respect you and doesn't deserve you. And OP says, I asked him to delete them when I found out. He deleted some and said he would do the rest later because there was a lot. He also said he's waiting to get a new phone. I don't know what year he's living in. In 2023, we have iCloud that transfers everything when you get a new phone, including the whole camera roll. I ended it and blocked him on everything. After reflecting and not having him physically with me, I'm quite disgusted. And now to the latest update, I told his ex. So I realized I had attachment issues, lol. I ended it, and then he was asking for us not to end, until he also agreed that we should not see each other anymore. But then, I didn't want it to end because I loved him, and also had low self-worth, thinking he would be the only person to love me. With retrospect, he didn't love me, he just liked talking, and, not exclusively, but mostly, he'd only really tell me he loved me when things were looking like they were going to end, or if I said it first. He's the type of person to tell you what you want to hear. Anyway, time passed, and I do still care for him, way more than I should, but my feelings for him have dwindled. I still miss him, but I don't love him. And I realized how effed up it truly is to have pictures of your ex, 17 to 20 years old, he's now 22, not saying that he's a pedo, but legally speaking, he did have child purr on his phone. I gave him many lectures on how bad it is that he still had them. He gave stupid excuses like I can't be bothered, or I'm going to sort it when I get a new phone, as if iCloud doesn't exist. He is a liar, someone who tells you what you want to hear. He just agreed with me to shut me up. I had a feeling he probably still had those pictures even after he said he'd delete them. Surprise, he did not. When we stopped seeing each other one time, I asked him to delete what he has of me, and he said he would. I come to find out he did not. Seems to be the thing that he does. I messaged his ex and told her that he still has all those pictures. A part of me did feel bad, because again I still care for him, and I knew in doing this he'd never talk to me again. So that was kinda sad, but I thought if it was me in her position, I would want someone to do the same for me. I also asked many females what I should do, and they all said, tell her, obviously. So I did. She told me how she asked him to delete all of her pictures when they broke up, and he said he would. This sounded very familiar. She thanked me for telling her. She called him and asked for a screen recording of him deleting everything, or she's calling his mum and letting her know what her son is up to. He eventually did. The gross thing is, he has 2 younger sisters. He tells me how scared he is for how they'll be treated by men when they grow up. He's scared they'll encounter men like himself, in my opinion. He was very angry with me, told me I was doing all of this out of spite. He tried to play the victim, which I found very pathetic, saying I didn't think this would blow up in my face again, and thanks for kicking me down lower than I already felt, as if he is the one who's been violated. Actions have consequences. I think he still thinks about her. I refer you to the fact that 1, he still had her pictures, 2, he tried to give me her shirt to wear, 3, he made her one of his playlist covers. When I told him that that was weird, he changed it, and 4, I had to ask him to stop talking about her. They were together for 3 years, and she's very beautiful, but 2 years had passed with no contact. She had very much moved on. Why couldn't he? Anyways, I know it was the right thing to do. I'm going through waves of, I'm glad I did it, and I'm sad he is hurt, but he is not the victim, and this was truly an eye-opening experience to who he really is. A little bit of a perv, collecting girls' explicit pictures as if they're Pokemon cards. I need to have better standards for myself. So I'm going on a date in a couple days. I met this guy at Wireless in the summer. Nothing happened. I've only met him once because he went to America for his placement year, and I was in a stupid on-again, off-again prolonged situationship with the pictures of girls collecting guy. But he's back in the UK for Christmas. He is so wholesome and cute and funny. I'm punching for real, but he approached me? Crazy. And he's so sweet. He doesn't ask me for pictures, he doesn't want to have sex straight away, he'd rather build towards it, which makes me happy because I want the same thing. We're gonna see Christmas lights, have matcha lattes, food, and then I'm gonna ask him if he wants to stay around mine so we can watch movies. He's very respectful, optimistic, and caring. He has sunflower energy. Also, he's good and doesn't drink or smoke, etc. I'm sober now, and being around someone who does that stuff is hard. In the comments, Sorchochka says, I am so glad I'm no longer in my early 20s. I hope she comes through this bad boyfriend stage with a much shinier spine. I'm encouraged by her telling the ex about the pictures. Still don't understand what she even saw in this relationship. Matter of fact, she said it herself. They are not in a relationship. First sentence. She was just naive. Happens all the time. The fact that she commingled very scary red flags with I met him on Hinge reveals that she had absolutely no idea what she was doing. And to be fair, how many of us can say that we didn't ignore a few red flags in our first serious relationship? When I look back at the people that I dated in college, I try to remind myself that most people's brains aren't finished developing until their mid-20s, and that I hadn't been to therapy yet. I know I certainly did. My first was a boulevard of red flags, and because I was still young and dumb and not in therapy, I then dated one that was a communist parade, and stupidly married his abusive ass. Man, OP's self-esteem is so low. She really needs to work on herself before getting into a relationship. She said she grew up in a majority white area, and it makes you wonder if her parents ever told her she was beautiful and they love her. It's just overall so sad. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.